AI in Action, Halldale's podcast series which looks at how civil aviation, military, and other safety-critical industries are adopting AI in training. In this EATS preview episode, Andy Fawkes is joined by Cineon.ai CEO Toby de Burgh.
Announced that it will be the first UK CAA approval of a VR pilot training tool.
Shane Jordan, CTO at Hilo Aviation.
We see spreadsheets as a bad word in our company.
And Halldale Correspondent Atul Chandra.
From the perspective of watching the growth of AI in aviation.
AI in Action.
Welcome to our latest AI in Action podcast or episode from Halldale. I'm Andy Fawkes, Special Correspondent for Halldale and host of AI in Action. And we're here to help you navigate the fast-moving world of AI in safety-critical industries. We have a special EATS show. We'll explain what EATS is for those who don't know very shortly. So this is linked to the show coming off in November. I'm really pleased to say we've got a fantastic global panel today from India, UK through to the USA. So across all time zones. So really great to get that kind of perspective for you. So in no particular order, I've got Toby de Burgh, who's the co-founder and CEO of Cineon, which hopefully I've got that correct, Toby. Shane Jordan, who's the CTO of Hilo Aviation. And also Atul Chandra, who's our Halldale correspondent for Southeast Asia and APAC. So without further ado, can we just sort of dive in, and for our listeners who don't know what EATS is, that's the European Aviation and Training Summit, isn't it? I hope I got that right. So Atul, could you just introduce yourself and then give us just a very quick rundown on EATS?
Thanks. EATS is being held from November 4th to 6th at the Estoril Convention Center in Portugal. It's one of the leading trade shows, with aviation training in our part of the world in Europe. We have a lot of very interesting tracks, very interesting workshops that are underway. I will be at EATS covering the show, so we'll have a lot of information coming out to everyone who's watching the Halldale page. But interestingly, there's also at APAC. So really, it's fantastic to see the trend with AI and how much it's picking up in our industry. A lot of stuff coming up, so I'm really excited to have our panelists here today. And Shane, Toby, pleasure to have you here. I'm looking forward to really learning a lot from you and then applying that when I visit EATS later this year.
And Toby, could you introduce yourself and your company, please?
Sure thing. So I'm Toby de Burgh. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Cineon. Cineon's been around approximately 10 years. And we, in a nutshell, what do we do? Well, we use AI and tools such as eye tracking and XR to make training or simulations that are adaptive to the user or personalized to the user. There's a strong body of evidence that suggests that when training is personalized, it tends to lead to much better outcomes. So that's what we do.
Fantastic. And Shane?
Yes, CTO, leading the tech side of Hilo Aviation. We've been around for a couple of years now, and we're focused on building out not only a training platform for flight schools as really an operating system that's based in AI, so that each level of flight training receives AI intelligence, insights and analysis to help them improve. Whether you're a student, whether you're an instructor or a flight school owner, the AI is used to give you insights and analysis to know what to do next and how to improve. We also have an AI services, professional services side where we assist airlines and larger commercial environments with data analysis and risk analysis to understand how to prevent accidents.
A really nice balance between you two there. Tell us more about what you do as we go along. And Atul, could you were at APATS, which is the Asia Pacific version of the Halldale training summits. Could you just say a bit what you saw with AI there, and maybe as a sort of lead into EATS?
APATS was very exciting, from the perspective of watching the growth, of AI in aviation. We had a lot of companies. We had B-Emotion AI, where they were using AI eye tracking software, sort of understand the psychological aspects of pilot training. We had a number of other firms as well that were using AI-based training tools. So overall, I would say the level of usage of this technology was really a highlight for me to observe.
And are we seeing the same exhibitors coming through to EATS, or was that very Asia Pacific focused?
Happily enough, I'd like to say that we do have many of the same companies visiting EATS, so that's great. Personally, for me, I'm looking to gain insights, from our discussion today, and also maybe get a viewpoint for the Asia Pacific region. We know countries like India have large requirements for pilot training, and some of the stuff that I've seen really, I think, would help countries like India transition quicker into sort of getting their pilot training pipelines, churning out a larger number of pilots sooner for the airlines.
And Toby, you're at the show and exhibiting. Is that right? And what will you be showing?
That's right. Yes. So this will be my third show. The second as an exhibitor. And so we'll be there exhibiting our kind of flagship platform, which is called Tacit, which is training aircrew competency using eye tracking. And it's similar to as Atul described. Other companies you've seen really, but we are a psychological platform that kind of monitors attention, emotion, cognition, and provides specific insight around those. And we map those against CBTA and EBT type approaches. So we'll be there, we'll be demonstrating that platform, and we've just released another system, which is a variant of it. It's a VR-based training tool that uses eye tracking as well, that we hope to, within the next 2 weeks, announce that it will be the first UK CAA approval of a VR pilot training tool. And that will be for walk-around inspection. And that's with our partners Jet2 here in the UK as well. So that's another, people will be able to come and have a look at that as well.
So that's for maintainers to check that they...
No, it's for pilot training.
Okay.
So all of our products are based are kind of for pilot training. So the CAA approved device, which will be an other training device, is for walk-around inspection, so pilot walk-around inspection as part of pilot rating training, and it's will be an OTD, so other training device or an alternate means of compliance. And so that's an exciting product for us, and it uses our eye tracking kind of functionality in that. It's relatively the kind of thin end of the wedge in terms of the what our tools are able to do. So it really kind of uses eye tracking to understand where people have looked, how long they've looked, have they taken information in, and does some gaze strategy identification around kind of the efficiency of those eye movements and how they might what level of kind of competency we can or proficiency we can gain from understanding those efficiencies. But our kind of flagship product, and the one that we've been working with kind of embedding simulators, and we work with actually with the RAF and the military here in the UK, is a more of a kind of conventional flight CBTA type assessment tool. So it monitors the kind of psychological kind of competency, so the human factor based competencies. It can derive constructs. So it has an AI system that sits behind it, and it has specific construct models around stress and anxiety, cognitive load or workload, and fatigue. And it uses those to piece together a kind of an assessment of pilot competency with some other tools and some performance metrics that then can be fed back to an instructor to make a more objective assessment of pilot competency. So those are the things that people will be able to come and have a go and have a look at, predominantly through XR, so wearing an XR headset or VR headset. So look out for us on our stand.
I was sort of thinking actually that kind of technology could be used for lots of things. Someone told me the other day that all car drivers in Europe, new cars, will have eye tracking in. Is that
yeah, so I think I'm right in saying 2026. It's an EU directive. Excellent. That means there'll be driver monitoring. Yeah, it's really interesting because we don't really know whether or not quite how complex that monitoring might be, but we know there are certain companies that really obviously focused on the the attention kind of capability, the fatigue monitoring, those kind of things. But we can also get a lot more information as well from eye movement metrics. So yes, that's the case. So there's bound to be the eye tracking technology is becoming much more prevalent than it was sort of a few years ago.
I guess it's getting better and more socially acceptable, I guess, as well. So I was just keen to hear what Shane will be showing at the show.
We have a couple of areas of focus, actually. First, with Hilo AI, visitors will be able to stop by our booth and see a demo of our platform, where you'll be able to see both from the flight school admin side and maintainers and students as well, what the experience is like. So imagine a holistic platform for your training, A to Z, that is contained in one platform, or I like to call it an operating system for flight schools, so that it's consistent everywhere from training all the way through to billing, and then backed by AI, of course, to see those interactions. And then secondly, we are pleased to partner with Cedric Pollard of the Airline Pilot Club. We're excited to work with him. We have a 3-hour workshop where we will be walking and helping people understand how to work with AI and implement it in their own organizations. And then both he and I and one of our partners, Brock Boer, who's a 20-year veteran in the industry, who specializes in risk management, we will be giving talks on AI throughout the conference. And so look forward to sharing insights there.
Great. And Atul, there were a number of streams looking at AI. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
There are quite a few streams at AI. I'm just going to read it out for you guys. We've got AI in training. We've got a maintenance training track as well. So several tracks that are going to be at EATS. Frankly, if you haven't signed up, I think you're missing out on something. But also, what I want to sort of just understand from both Shane and Toby is the benefits for the individuals participating in these tracks with you at EATS. I just want to understand, from you, how does that interaction work?
So from our perspective, yeah, I mean, what we're very keen, I mean, it's a great platform, obviously, to kind of speak to people, whether or not they be kind of pilots and users, customers. But as a company, we've always had a very strong kind of philosophy of having an evidence base for what we do. And I know that obviously evidence base is a phrase in aviation training as well, and the two kind of sort of align. But we really enjoy the opportunity to actually take people through the evidence that supports the approach and why specifically we think AI can be applied to certain areas for relative gain. We find that kind of pilots and airlines and ATOs are very much kind of intelligent customers, by which I mean that's a kind of phrase we use in other industries. So they really tend to know and want to understand what they're buying and what the kind of efficacy of that might be. And I think particularly pilots are, we as Cineon has, we're not just in aviation, we're in quite a few different areas, and we find that pilots are kind of the toughest customers in some respects, because they are used to the absolute kind of gold standard in simulation. And so particularly technology like XR and things has a hard sell there sometimes, because it's just simply can't replace, or it's difficult to replace these kind of very high fidelity flight simulators, unless it's actually bringing something else to the party and has another kind of can bring some other kind of useful benefits and maybe you can't get elsewhere. And I think that's where technologies like eye tracking, particularly in conjunction with AI and use of AI models for kind of psychological indexing, really offer a kind of opportunity to objectively understand performance in a way that you simply can't do in conventional flight simulators and other settings. And I think so for us, it is really great to have an opportunity to kind of sit people down, get their views, talk to them about what we do, and kind of really kind of lay the evidence out in a way that is frankly kind of warts and all, and they can understand, and particularly now, how that can be used as part of a kind of regulatory pathway. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to kind of really meet people that want to kind of critique and understand.
Fantastic. I can't wait to be part of the workshop. Shane, I just want to get your insight into that aspect as well.
Definitely. So we're really focused on implementation. And so how does an organization integrate AI? How do they do it correctly? There's a huge gap between the hype of AI, right, in the industry and the opportunity, and then how do you actually go about implementing it? So we like to bridge that and hope to be able to provide a plan for our attendees and those who come up afterwards. We'd love to talk more to understand their individual situations, but we want to essentially give them a POH or a guide to how to integrate and start to think about AI in the org. We have a particular focus as well on data. We think that that is a key critical part of implementing AI that is not talked about well enough, because it's not the fun side of AI, right? It's not generative, but without good data coming in, you won't get good data out and good results. So we will focus on that, and love to listen and learn from what others are doing.
I just want to say I'm sold. I'm not missing the session, so I'm going to be there for sure.
I was going to say I plan on attending Toby's because he's achieving the dream of with eye tracking. Very exciting to hear.
Do you think airlines are sort of looking at their data associated with humans, pilots, etc., in a different way now? But both of you, I don't know, Shane?
I do. I think they're starting, and one of the common issues we hear is it's overwhelming, right? There is so much data, so much historical data. How do you categorize it? How do you focus on what's important? How do you take advantage of all of that data and use it? And those are challenges we hear and see again and again. And the other is also disparate systems. So many people still, even in larger airlines, talk about using spreadsheets, right? We see spreadsheets as a bad word in our company. And how do you move away from spreadsheets into a more automated solution?
And are those conversations going to be happening at EATS, do you think, Atul?
I'm very
from the airline.
There will be one thing that was very interesting for me to watch at APAS was just the sheer quality of the interactions with all the individuals and the stakeholders. And this was really an eye-opener for me, because as a journalist, I've traveled to many sort of exhibitions and shows, but this was different. It's going to be my first time at EATS, but I'm absolutely confident that the quality of the interactions there will be very high. I think there'll be real output as well, which I think is important for the industry, right? A way forward in how to get things done.
And Toby, that question again about your essential customers, do you think airlines and elsewhere are starting to take their data a bit more seriously? Although I love Excel myself, but
yeah, me too.
We all do.
Yeah, I think that people generally see the value more in data. They're more also protective of data. They see the kind of risk in data as well. I think also like it's a much more kind of considered approach. And I think like Shane says, it's but people are aware that there is bulk, simulators and other means of training people. It just generates just tons and tons of data, particularly as we move into other kind of modalities of training people with things like headsets, wearables, and all kinds of. Then the data becomes kind of tenfold. And yeah, I think generally people are switched onto the idea that actually there's a lot of benefit and commoditizable kind of benefit that comes out of working with these data. I think just to give you some specific examples, I think quite often we have the question come back to us as, yeah, data's great, but but so what? Like, how do we actually kind of use it in a useful way? And I think that's really where AI does come in, particularly. But actually, we find, particularly recently with airlines, I think as the need for pilot recruits goes up, and actually there's less people kind of entering the profession with the qualification already, and so the airlines kind of own more of the kind of cost and the risk of training people. They're definitely becoming more interested in the data, particularly data around kind of competency and attrition and things like that. From our perspective, that's where people are interested, I think.
And maybe this is a question that might come back to Atul, but I mean, either of you, Toby or Shane, fundamentally, what is the sort of elevator pitch? Is it going to save time? Is it save money, make training better, or all three of those? Shane?
Definitely. The pitch is, let's make safer pilots. Let's help you operate your business more efficiently and achieve the outcomes that you set for your KPIs. That's really what we focus on.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I mean, certainly our technology, we've always approached it, how do we make people better? It's kind of human performance question. We want to make people perform better, more effectively, more efficiently, more repeatably. But I mean, in all honesty, most of the time, that's how the conversation starts, and then it does tend to come down to the business case quite quickly. And quite often, when things are relatively subjective, and thankfully, accidents happen very infrequently, it's actually sometimes quite difficult to make a compelling safety argument, frankly. And so, actually, one that is in conjunction with actually a cost benefit is one that we find kind of as well. And of course, with less cost, then airlines can do more and train more and improve facilities and get better sims. And so it's part of the same thing, I suppose, in many respects.
Did Cineon start in sports? Am I correct? Or there's a connection with helping sports?
No, there's an element there. Yeah. So I'm actually from nuclear background. I'm submarines actually originally.
Right.
But
Okay.
we have a so these are things that go down rather than up. But one of our founders is a professor of psychology who specializes in elite performers. So that would be kind of pilots, surgeons, sports people, and special forces.
I've met Sam. That must be.
Yes, I think
yeah. So Atul, I suppose that question you were talking about the challenges in India, say, or could you just reflect on that, given what Toby and Shane have said?
And actually, there's two aspects. One, I want to ask them a question, but before that, in Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific, in countries like India, there's really an explosion of the pilot training aspect, right? We have a large number of schools. The requirements are very high, but they're also very cost sensitive. They're extremely cost sensitive. So I just want to understand from both our panelists here, when you sort of come into a market like India, what are the challenges you face? You said you have an escalator pitch, but do you deal, when you come into a more price sensitive market?
Yeah, if I could, to leverage what Toby was saying earlier, it does quickly go to business case, right? And one of the ways we find that is inefficiency. So, for example, someone we were talking with recently may spend over a week in collecting data across their different systems. And so part of that is data transformation and integration. But then there's also the insights that we can leverage from AI and training that. So for example, you can not only transform that data so that they don't have to spend a week collecting it all together manually and putting it into our lovely spreadsheets that we do love. It's hard to get away from. But then gaining that insight off of it through AI so that your executive leadership can more quickly and regularly see the progress on their KPIs. And it's about that consistency, transparency, and that ability to really deliver those results regularly while also understanding what's behind the logic and the data. So I like to say that there's also a benefit, of course, of potentially replacing resources, but we don't like to focus on that as much as assisting resources to use their time more strategically. So an organization may have many people dedicated to manual processes that are inefficient, and we can improve that, as I've mentioned, through data transformation and automation. But then there's also leveraging those resources to move up a level. So if I'm in dispatch or resource planning and scheduling, I can spend more of my time on the important KPIs at a higher level and get more benefit more quickly that way.
And Toby, I just want to hear from you on the same aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I echo what Shane said. I mean, AI is kind of demonstrably proven to kind of reduce costs in terms of managing efficiencies and things. But from my perspective, in terms of specifically looking at training, the cost saving that how we kind of start that conversation really is probably around attrition, like I mentioned before. So, the saving, the costs of kind of investing lots of time in what ultimately becomes a training failure or a longer term training. We work with the military, for example, as well, and actually that's one that really sits well with them because they invest a lot of money in pilot training, and actually it's not uncommon to have late stage training failures. So it's a really nice kind of clear kind of cost benefit analysis. But I suppose also again on the training side, replacement of more costly methods is obviously where a lot of people are interested. We've regulated with the ASA and others approving essentially alternatives to costly full flight simulators. So yeah, certainly reducing those kind of costs is where we as an organisation are focused, and I think are ones that are really significant and tangible cost reductions that we'd find are welcome in market.
We'll come a bit later to how you see the future going, but maybe before we see the future, what about challenges? What are the challenges that need overcoming kind of now and as we go forward? Shane, it seems to me it's less about technology, it's more about acceptance. And
so we've all been in that situation where you may be in middle management and promoting something that will really help improve the company, right? But getting that top-down acceptance and buy-in. So building out the business case for coming back to that, building out the business case and proposal for what AI can do with a specific scenario in your area, in your specialty, such as training or maintenance, for example, is really key to get that buy-in. The second is things are moving so quickly, it's hard to know where to invest in, right? One platform is suddenly performing agent building, while another has moved forward and advanced in their co-development space. So being flexible at the same time with your plan, and knowing that you may need to pivot quickly and experiment. So taking that plan, being willing to experiment and iterate and test and learn, I think is a real key that we need to adopt in the industry to better use AI.
That's a nice thing to say. I guess the airline industry doesn't have a research program to help you do that. So
research and development. Right.
So I guess all companies have to do their own, which is an interesting challenge in itself. Yeah.
Yes.
And Toby, what about the challenges that need overcoming?
So generally, I totally agree with what Shane said, and I think it's a case of, obviously AI is a hot topic. That most of the talk, I'm sure, will be about around AI and EATS. So I suppose it is actually kind of how do the right systems kind of stand out from the noise in many respects. Like, how do people really make kind of informed, intelligent decisions about where to invest? We see in other technologies, like in our technology, XR and eye tracking, that there is this kind of scorched path of people that have been early investors and then kind of gone down the wrong route, and then become kind of a bit reticent about kind of spending in the future. But I suppose particularly for us, the big challenge probably is around personal data. So because we're so focused on kind of human performance and people and the people in the machine component, it's about it's a kind of a little bit Wild Westy. There is legislation. People are rightly protective of their personal data, but actually the key to really understanding and optimizing training, it sits in that personal data over time. So it's really kind of, I think the challenge is, how do we kind of have a really intelligent, grown-up kind of conversation about how are we as an industry going to work with these data, work with it securely and safely, and in a way that really kind of is designed to make sure that we get the best out of people, rather than kind of going down to the lowest common denominator.
I mean, is it true? I mean, either of you, or if I'm a pilot, if I go from one airline to another, how is my data transferred safely or at all?
Yeah, beyond the logbook, there are one of the things mentioned earlier was about safety. So, it's we all know that when there is an incident, that is highly reported. But what about the things that lead up to an incident? What are the activities and SMS, issues that pop up that could show a trend line for an executive, right? That it's a very difficult issue to deal with, especially when you have in the U.S., for example, job labor protections and organizations, private data is very protected. So it's a large challenge here.
Yeah, our last episode was about wellness, and we had EasyJet and some other experts as well. And it was kind of, I'm an engineer myself. It was kind of this fascinating idea that we look after jet engines because they're important, but we don't with data, and we capture data, but we don't quite do the same with humans. I thought that was kind of an interesting reflection of
absolutely.
Of that.
taking that point and the cost analysis point, I mean, we know just in the UK how much money, what a huge impact on staff absenteeism and mental health has on our GDP. And actually, there's a massive cost benefit argument to actually having people that are well in work, and AI, could play a massive part in that.
Yeah. And at the show, Atul, is there a stream? Will the training heads, will this be on the agenda, do you think? Heads of training?
That's definitely something that I think, a lot of people are looking forward to. I saw how the workshop, ran at APATS as well. And, being part of it was really an eye-opener. So yes, the heads of training workshop is going to happen at IATS. And that's going to be, something that's very, very interesting in terms of, for me, being present at the workshop at APATS was just to watch all the views coalesce, into something workable, and to look at the stakeholders. They actually have something that they can take forward within their organizations was truly, really excellent to watch. So yes, that's something going to be very exciting. And I hope, Shane or Toby will depute someone to join us there as well.
Yes.
Yeah. It's great. The industry has these events to, sorry, this is a big plug, but it's important to have these forums where people can talk about these issues which don't have any easy answers, and especially with such a multinational. So absolutely fantastic. All these always fly by, but it's really important. I want to ask all three of you actually, and I'll start with Toby maybe. Well, we've talked about the pace of change. I mean, what, and we've spoken about opportunities and challenges. What might you think would be different in a year's time, or maybe even 5 years' time? And maybe thinking about, if you can, about your products as well. That what obviously some of it being commercial, but just a reflection for our listeners. Thank you.
Pace of change. I mean, I think probably for us, or where most eyes are pointed is at the regulator or the regulators. And I think that there's significant change happening there. All the European regulators seem, really to be looking at the potential for new technologies to improve the training process and reach kind of compliance. So I think probably in the next 1 to 5 years, I would expect to see really, really substantial regulatory engagement in terms of the use of AI for training, and I suppose specifically the use of AI to replace, or not replace, but at least enhance more subjective instructor assessments. I think that's probably where we're going to see the most change. I hope. And so that's not to say I'd ever wish to see instructors replaced. It really is, I think, AI will be best used, certainly in the next few years, as a tool to aid assessments and improve efficiencies rather than replacing the person.
Yeah. In a sense, the instructors need to know how to use AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We actually, when we first started working in this field, we developed a system for competency assessment that was entirely autonomous, and it was roundly kind of disliked because it was trying to to take people out of the system, and rightly so. It should have been disliked. So where we've got to now is definitely this kind of complementary kind of toolbox approach, and so seeing AI as a useful tool, not as something that's going to kind of replace anybody anytime soon.
And Shane, the same question about the future.
Over the next 5 years, we see that opportunity in being able to help predict and forecast trends of issues that can be stopped and corrected before they become an issue, an accident, or some other incident for the airlines, so that our skies are safer. That's really our goal around risk management and AI. There's such an opportunity there between all of these inventions that we have, between eye tracking and just the data itself. We have a large opportunity and responsibility in aviation to implement these to help us be better decision makers.
Yeah, Shane, I mean, the point about the pilots themselves taking charge, it was kind of or any cabin crew, whatever, kind of an interesting idea, whether you have a Fitbit for pilot training.
Yes,
kind of
yes,
idea,
exactly.
Or Strava, same idea.
That's right.
Yeah. So they take ownership Yeah,
that's right. I have found in my experience that human behavior is one of the hardest things to change, and you can give that data to executives to make decisions, but whether, for better or worse. But you'll see real change when that data is given to the individuals themselves, and they know that they're being measured at those KPIs, because everyone typically wants to do the best they can and perform at their best.
I'm always struck. I've got a Steam account for gaming. I've had that for 20 years, so I can see exactly what I've ever done for the 20 years and how bad I am or rubbish I am, or on who I've even played with. And I always wonder why we can't do that same for safety critical people.
Right, exactly.
And Toby, is that something that you've that kind of personalization, but actually you empower the individual, it's not the enterprise, it's the individual that's taking charge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, as I said kind of at the beginning, the evidence is clear that if a route through training or is personalized, then you always get the best out of the individual. So yeah, we're very much strong believers in kind of personalization. And I think also we particularly in our sector of kind of like competency assessments, we are wary of kind of this idea, this kind of exemplar individual or expert pilot, that if everybody copied that person, then everyone would be safer. It's very much a case of people achieve excellence through or competency through different means, and and people have different and complementary strengths, and actually systems that are take account of that and work with that are definitely going to be the ones that are going to mean that we have the pilots we need for years to come.
Fantastic. And then Atul, just could you just remind us of where and when, and maybe just want a few reflections on what you've heard today?
I've had, this conversation itself has been so insightful for me. I'll just give you a quick insight. I met an Indian military, Air Force instructor, and he mentioned, with AR, VR, their training loads actually gone up. The instructor actually has more work to do, and I think that's what Toby is saying. The insights that will be obtained from AI will really allow them to train, a larger number of pilots can actually come through, whereas maybe earlier a few of them would have been left behind. So just watching the pace of change, I think, is breathtaking. I'm really looking forward to being at IATS. It's my first time, but I look forward to speaking with Toby, with Shane, and sort of understanding more. But the next 5 years, frankly, I think is going to be dramatically different from where we are sitting, this evening.
Great stuff. Well, I always enjoy doing these. I've learned so much myself, and thank you, gents, and hopefully I've said a few things of interest as well, because we do try to have a conversation in our AI in action. So thank you very much, gents. Our next AI in action is linked to IITSEC, which is early December. It's a military focused event, and we're planning to release that next month in November. So, but once again, thank you very much, Toby, Shane, and Atul for your time and expertise today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.